Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you guys for watching, and a special thanks for all you guys who subscribe. That's awesome, man. I just do this all for fun. Try to spread the hobby. I'm gonna go over a couple tips and tricks of what I do for my planes and getting the CG down, and also on the tail rudders, how to secure that just in case you ever have a problem with the glue not holding. So this plane is the Extra 300 by E-flite, Horizon Hobby, and it calls for 90 to 100 millimeters plus or minus 3 millimeters, measuring from the wingtip to the rear of the plane. So I'm using this caliper just for video purposes, making it easier for everybody to see. So you measure from the wingtip, the leading edge, and back to 100 millimeters, and then forward like plus or minus that for different battery types and sizes. So for this is for the Venom 2200 4-cell battery, 4S battery. This is where I got mine CG'd for right now. So is what I do is I use piece of yarn. You can use string, whatever you can get, and then you measure back. You put a little mark, then you tape your yarn there, tape your string, whatever you got. Make sure you use some tape that's not real sticky like I did right here, and pulled a little bit of the paint off of the plane. Use something that's not real sticky but strong enough to hold the string in place, so you can get the string fairly tight, so you can get a pretty good straight line. So you measure that, and I'll flip the plane over. You measure it on both wingtips. Then you tape the line to both wingtips. Then you get the line as straight as you can. And then this is 100 millimeters from what the factory says in the manual, right there where I got that mark. So right there where I got that mark. But for some reason with my battery that I'm using, the 2200 Venom 4S, the mark is right there. So that's the mark that I have to balance it at for my battery to be centered with the plane, and I have to push the battery all the way back in the battery compartment. So when you do this, it'll get you in the ballpark, but depending on what battery you're going to use, you're going to have to move that line to balance it. But it really doesn't matter for me and the battery that I'm using, because I'll show you when I put my battery in here, I have to put the battery all the way back in the battery compartment, and then I have to use this second dot that I put right there. And then the plane is pretty much perfectly balanced right there. So I guess it's give or take depending on what kind of battery you got, but if you do the string, it'll get you in the ballpark, and then you can go from there with whatever size battery you got. But with me and this battery, pushing it all the way back, it gets me level. All I gotta do is push the battery all the way back, and I'm good to go. The only other little tip that I wanted to show you guys is I had the problem with the Yak 54 before. The glue didn't set right, or the glue was old, or whatever happened, and the first flight I did, the tail rudder came off and it was dangling in the wind. That wasn't very much fun. So is what I do now with my planes. So if you can see that little pin right there, I put a pin through the hinge. In these hinges there's a hole or a V slot, and you find out where that is and you measure that out to where you know exactly where that hole is, from where the hinge joint meets where the rudder goes in, and where it lines up for me is 7.3 millimeters that way, and then 9 millimeters that way. So if you put a pin right there, right through that little hole in the hinge where it goes into the back of the mount, you'll never have a problem if your glue doesn't set right, or if it's old glue, or if you didn't use enough glue. No matter what happens, you'll have a safety if you put that little pin in there. So no matter what happens, your rudder won't be dangling in the wind. Well, that's all I got. I hope that helped somebody out. I'm sure I probably did something wrong. I'm not a RC guru per se. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes like everybody. So if somebody has an easier way, or if I've done something wrong, please point it out. So it doesn't cause anybody any problems or anything. But I hope that helped anybody out that's watching, and that's how I do it. That's the quickest, easiest way that I can think of to do it. So you guys take it easy. Happy flying.